this is something I'll be doing on this platform for a little while, just to kind of try things out and see who's gonna watch my shit. And but let's go ahead and get started, and I'll introduce you to me. I did stream at like 3:30 in the morning until 5 last night, just testing things out. But this is an actual show. I wanted to kind of introduce myself to the platform, and go over who I am, what I talk about, and the kind of content you can expect here on this platform. So. So, welcome to the first DLive podcast. So, some of you might not know who I am. I am Scottthetruckdriver on YouTube. I have a website called Scottthetruckdriver.com. I am very active on Minds.com as my social media platform of choice. And I'm thinking of bringing my podcast here just to see how it plays out. I talk about, I used to be a truck driver, obviously, and I talk about keto and intermittent fasting as a means of losing weight and getting healthy, because I lost a lot of weight. I am 100% pure healthy. I've been on the ketogenic diet with little dips into the carnivore diet over the past 4.5 years. Been intermittent fasting during that time. Longest fast I ever did was 7 days. And it's been... I've also become a minimalist, so I talk about minimalism and other lifestyle things that we can do to make ourselves have healthier, happier lives. I've been focused lately a lot on mental health, because depression is a real problem that I struggled with for a long time, and I seem to have gotten it under control without the use of pharmaceuticals or anything like that. So I'm trying to go ahead and bring my show here. Now, this podcast is going to be a little wonky because I'm getting used to the new interface here, and I want to be able to, share this a little bit easier. It's hard to notify people in real time to come and watch this podcast, but I just want to share it. So let me go ahead and copy the link and post it on my Minds, since no one's here quite yet. But I've had a long run on YouTube. The reason why I've come to look for these other platforms is the recent wave of censorship, not only in the political sphere, which doesn't really affect me because I'm not a political commentator, though sometimes I think there's a little bit of crossover for some of the content I produce. And I basically, sorry, I'm going to be looking at the screen while I do this. Basically, okay, hold on, posting. All right, so I've posted it didn't come out how I want to, but anyways, people can follow me there. I've come over to this platform because, I heard it's a free speech platform. And I want to see if I can have a podcast here. I want to know that, I have a live streaming platform that is not YouTube dependent. I plan on posting this podcast on the other platform. So if you're not watching me live on DLive, you can still watch my show and consume it, because I will be posting on Scottthetruckdriver.com. I am going to mirror this particular one on YouTube this week. To let everyone over there know that if they want to join me in live streaming, this is the place I want to kind of do that, because it seems the most creator friendly, particularly in the economic sector of it. You can easily donate crypto, which is able to be converted into real money. to your favorite creators on the platform, and it's easy to participate in the chat. And yeah, I believe there is a small rake on the crypto as far as, you know, me monetizing and all of that, which is fine, which the platform has to be supported. It's decentralized on the blockchain. It is moderated to a degree, you know, but I believe the community guidelines are fairly reasonable. As in, you just label yourself as not safe for work if you're going to, you know, talk about anything that might offend people or stuff like that. Hopefully my health shit doesn't offend anybody except maybe a vegan or two. But, you know, I want to kind of be able to get on here, do my thing, have my show, and drink my coffee. Yeah. So that's kind of my plan going forward with this podcast. Obviously, not a lot of people here right now because I haven't published on YouTube that I'm coming here. I have published on Minds and on my blog and my website, which, like I said, is not really going to drive people here in real time as easily as, say, YouTube will. But you know, I think as I produce more and more of these here, people that want my content will be able to come here and participate in the live streams going forward. And I'd also like to kind of get to know the community that's already here on DLive, which is primarily what I'm interested in. Is there a big enough community here to make this a regular live stream type thing? Or, you know, should I just continue to do what I'm doing on the other platforms? So that's why I'm here. That's who I am. I am not a fucking expert. I do swear. Yes. I am just an asshole who's done a lot of research, who's done a lot of transforming my life. And I've been sharing that throughout all these platforms, mainly on YouTube for the past 4 years. But I am branching out to try, and because YouTube has definitely nerfed, you know, people's ability to start out, first of all, and to grow, second of all. And I believe that, you know, diversification of your content is the way to go, with some kind of centralized point like a website for people who want to follow your content to keep up with everything. I know for those of you not watching on DLive, I know some of you don't want to jump around other platforms, but I think that's what's empowering these social media companies to have the ability to control everything the way they do, is because there's no willingness to diversify the platforms you hang out on. And it was suggested to me by a few subscribers to come here to, you know, this, you know, DLive, which stands for Decentralized Live. And I'm still learning, you know, the blockchain in elements, you know, which appears to be a safe way of being. It's user supported, it's user funded, DLive is. And so far, I am impressed with the video quality, the sound quality, and just the interface seems pretty straightforward. I straightened out a lot of new elements to the interface, so when you chat or you contribute to the show via the crypto, which is on here as Lino points, you'll be able to help keep me going, keep me on here, spending time making content, doing research, so on and so forth. So what I'm going to talk about in my first show today, I've got a couple email questions that came in through Scottthetruckdriver.com, so I want to address those. And I also want to do a little bit of a reaction video just to see if this is something that you all would be interested in. And since, you know, the topic of the day is going to be the carnivore diet and obesity, I thought it appropriate to make that this current show. So that's what this podcast is going to be all about. And if I get a few people in to talk and chat, you know, and interact, then we'll do that. But I'm not anticipating a lot of followers. You know, I have 5 followers, and they all came in last night, so they're probably not on right now. But, you know, I'm looking to hang out and do things here and have fun, too. I'm not just going to podcast here. I'm also going to do my karaoke streams and, the various other things that I want to do to share, my content, my life, my journey, the things, my opinions too. I have opinions on things. I want to react to things as well. And I do a lot of that in my online, videos, live streams. I'll play a video and kind of pause it periodically to give my opinion and response to that video. And we're going to do one of those today. And I also encourage people to follow these videos and watch the entire videos and go to them. So I am curious on, our reaction videos here. I would imagine they would be, since, technically that's transformative and all of that in terms of the copyright. And, I noticed, everyone's on here streaming games and whatnot, and that's also transformative for the most part, as far as I can tell. But yeah, this is my morning coffee time too. So basically, I'm sharing what I do in the morning via this. Hold on, I gotta turn the volume way down on that. Via this platform. So the first thing I want to do is go through a couple email questions that came to me. Let me zoom them down a bit and go over them, which I'm not going to put them on the screen. I don't know that. I think these people want to remain anonymous. Where's the other email? All right. So this first email came to me from Dan. It's about the carnivore diet. Could you maybe share with me your thoughts on long-term carnivore? ? That's the first question. I don't think you really need to be on the carnivore diet. Now, for those of you who don't know what the carnivore diet is, that is a zero-carb diet where you're just pretty much eating animal-based diet. Some people do it with dairy. Some people do it without dairy. I do it with dairy when I do it. And why would anybody want to fucking do that? You might be saying to yourself, if you've never heard of it. There's a lot of things in our food environment that cause autoimmune problems, leaky gut, and all of these issues in the digestive system that lead to like allergies, depression, anxiety, inflammation. When you go on a carnivore diet, and I've done it a couple times now, strict, just for 30 days to do a baseline, and all of these symptoms go away during that period. Depression goes away. Allergies are almost non-existent, but they kind of went away when I went keto to begin with. But for me, the big thing was the depression issue. Whenever I go down to a carnivore baseline, there's no depression problems at all. I'm pretty much, if something makes me sad, it makes me sad for maybe an hour. Whereas before, I would get in this spiral of misery that lasts days, weeks. And, it's like this anybody that's been depressed knows what I'm talking about here. And so that's why I used it. But I'm not a strict carnivore. I won't be a strict carnivore. I call it ketovore. I'm carnivore about 80% of the time. 80% of the time, my diet is animal-based. I will, however, add a few things in here and there just to see how I tolerate them. And if you re-add a food and you tolerate it well, you don't know, and that means you don't notice, you just add that new food for a while and see what happens to the carnivore diet, then you can troubleshoot essentially what foods you can tolerate well and what you can't. And this is individualized. This is how you individualize your diet to be healthy, to be happy, and to lose weight, so on and so forth. Do I think everybody needs to go carnivore? No, I do not. I do believe that grain is the primary source of a lot of misery, followed by high amounts of sugar and fructose. And, we're going to get into that a little bit from another email I received. But mainly you want to use the carnivore diet for what it is, and it is a great baseline. It is a completely neutral starting point with which you can rebuild your diet profile on the foods that you can eat. I will say a word of caution, though. If you're reintroducing foods high in carbs and high in sugar, that you need to be a little mindful of the results of that. You know, what happens when you reintroduce these things to your diet? It can cause blood sugar issues. It can cause damage if you're reintroducing something that's grain-based into the diet, and you would essentially just not be doing yourself any good. But you got to base it on how you feel. Obviously, you got to base it on your labs and your blood work and how that pans out. But, anybody who's watched me for a long time knows that a lot of the labs are not quite up to speed in terms of nutrition. And that will lead me to that. Let me continue with the email. Also, could you share and read which sources you study? I don't have... the carnivore diet has not been studied, with the exception of the Maasai, which was Dr. Weston Price, or one of them researchers did a book about. But there's no scientific study that will ever be funded on the carnivore diet. I guarantee you will not find an industry that will fund a long-term study. And epidemiology is about worthless as it is. You can't trust the science now. It's come out that there's been corruption in pretty much all of academia. And when you look at the amount of shit epidemiology studies that the media grabs onto and is like, yeah, the keto is bad, and stories like keto crotch and all the other bullshit that that has been thrown at the ketogenic diet the whole way. Well, the carnivore diet is even more demonized because it's basically the opposite of the direction that the guidelines are trending. The guidelines are trending towards a more plant-based approach, whereas carnivore is an extreme end of the spectrum. And I don't think everyone needs to be carnivore. Start with keto and see what happens. And if you're still having some issues on keto, then maybe do a carnivore baseline, which is basically how I approached carnivore. I wanted to try it out. I tried it out for 30 days. I tried it out for longer than that a couple times when I just didn't add anything back in because I didn't want to rock the boat, But overall, I have reintegrated, nuts and seeds and various other things into my nutrition profile. And I've been able to do that, successfully and maintain my mental health benefits that I got on the baseline. I've reintroduced nuts and seeds. I've reintroduced, occasionally, I'll have tomato sauce, which is a nightshade and has a little bit of a glyphosate problem. But dose does determine the poison in terms of these things. So if you're not doing it every day, you're likely not going to have a resurgence of symptoms. Your body can recover from a little bit of the damage that you've done. I don't think that carnivore diet is a cure-all. You can research the carnivore diet. There are some very strong anecdotal data out there. You got Amber O'Hearn. If you Google Amber O'Hearn, you'll see a lot of the mental health side of it, and she also makes a pretty good case in some of her talks. You've got Michaela Peterson and Jordan Peterson, both of whom I believe are on a strict diet and have resolved some severe health problems with a strict carnivore diet, and they probably have to remain on that diet to retain those benefits, because every time they try, and believe me, Michaela Peterson has tried to step outside the box. Every time they set foot outside the box, they've noticed a disastrous, result in terms of their health and wellness and mental health in some cases as well. So, it's something you do as a baseline to kind of get going, to really get a nice solid grasp on the foods that you consume regularly that are causing you problems. And the other issue is I don't eat out a lot too, so you can't rule that out. You know, whenever you eat in a restaurant or any of those places, you have very little control over the ingredients that you're being served. You don't know if there's sugar in your meats. You don't know if they're putting things in seasonings. You know, there's no control over it, and you also don't know if they're cooking with vegetable oil, which is something else we're going to get into in this podcast a little bit. Overall, you know, it's not scientifically supported right now, which is another reason I'm kind of jumped off the YouTube for some of this, is because they're censoring stuff that doesn't have the backing of science. Even though it's nature, even though we've been eating this way for millions of years, a primarily carnivorous diet with some hunting and gathering, because if you've ever been out in nature, and I've been known to spend time out in nature and do adventures and stuff, you can see those videos too on my YouTube channel. But yeah, you know, when you're out in nature, you're not always going to be finding fruit. Fruit's only available once a year, depending on where you are in nature. And in the area that I'm at, fruit is only available pretty much once a year. And that's how we're designed to eat it. And it's supposed to make us fat for the winter. It's supposed to put on some pounds when you eat lots of fruit. Vegetables are only in season at one time of the year. They're hard to preserve. They go bad quickly. But grain is always there, but we weren't designed to eat grain. You got to think back pre-agriculture. That's what our genetics are designed to take. And it's only been the past 10,000 years we brought eating the seeds of grasses into the picture, and we have to heavily process those just to not get sick doing so. So, you know, start with a carnivore diet. Experiment. It will not hurt you if you do it for 30 days and see what happens and see the benefits. We're gonna, I assume, because I watch Vegetable Police, and he went from one extreme, which is vegan, all the way to carnivore. I've been following his journey for a while, and there's a video that he posted today that I want to react to, that I haven't watched yet. So this will be like a real-time reaction if you're watching this later. Dan also asked, by the way, are you from New York? Yes, so I am from New York, the Syracuse area. Lived in Rhode Island for the last 8 years, but I'm from St. Lawrence County and Potsdam. Yeah, I am familiar with that area. So, you know, that's my answer to your question, Dan. I'll be sure to email you back and link this particular talk going over these things. But overall, that's the carnivore diet. If you Google the carnivore diet, you will find all of the anecdotal evidence out there. If you search for it on YouTube, you will also find a bunch of things there, you know, that present a strong case for the diet. But ultimately, you got to make your own decisions on the carnivore diet. So now I want to kind of go over, before I get to the final topic of this. You know, I'm trying to keep it fairly short because this is pretty much a test podcast. Let's take a look at this video by Vegetable Police. Let's switch this here, desktop plus camera. There we go. So I've been following, and you should follow Vegetable Police. He's very entertaining, and you know, I enjoy his content immensely. So definitely go over, subscribe to him. He is pretty active. You know, he does 3 videos a week or so, and he's just entertaining. Also, he has camera conspiracies, and I am a photographer, so I plan on doing some photography-based content as well on the podcast. So I need to react to this. So let's get it fired up here and take a look at this video.
So vegan. You're so unethical. How could you? What is that? What are you eating? Oh my god, is that a steak? You're a monster.
We can get into the ethical arguments of veganism on another podcast, so I'm just not really address that, but he's being funny there.
How could you? The animals. So it's been about 3 weeks since I went vegan as F, and I gotta be honest with you. It's not all unicorn kittens over here. The struggle's real. And it's
Also, if you're not familiar, he had colitis, which is one of the reasons, and he was struggling with it on the vegan diet, and then he switched over to carnivore. And I don't think he, from what I can tell from his videos, I can't really tell if I feel like he goes in and out of veganism. I think he's reintroducing too many things at once during the carnivore diet, which you're supposed to do. You're supposed to bring things back and see how you react to them once you're on the carnivore diet. He's been doing so, but here's my problem with what he does. Any little health problem that he, experiences, and I see this a lot in my channel and on my community that I've been interacting with for a while. Any negative health problem, immediately it's the fucking diet. The diet did it. It's been a story with keto. If you're having problems, if your blood sugar's not quite right, these diets will put things that are going bad in remission for the most part. They're not a cure. They're not going to miraculously heal you. They prevent you from getting worse. They do put things like leaky gut in remission, particularly, and that can relieve autoimmune problems, digestive issues, clear up. The carnivore diet cleans up a lot of symptoms. But if you go away from the carnivore diet, these symptoms will return. I'm not noticing a healing process that I'm aware of. I haven't fully tested it. I haven't gone full on keto back from being carnivore. I reintroduced a few foods that I think I want to be part of my diet, and I consume them. I get a little bit of vitamin C in there because I don't eat a lot of organ meat, and if you eat organ meat, for those of you who are like, I can't be carnivore, there's fucking no vitamin C in it. You can get your vitamin C that way, or you can just occasionally have something that has vitamin C. Also, to note, if you're reintroducing a high-carb food with a lot of glucose or fructose into your diet, you need to increase your vitamin C intake, or you could get scurvy. If you're not eating any carbs or sugar or glucose, and most of your glucose is being converted from the protein that you eat via gluconeogenesis, which is a real process, if that's how you're getting your glucose, then you don't need a huge amount of vitamin C, and chances are you're getting enough if you're eating meat, especially if you're eating rare or raw. I don't do raw carnivore. I've never been a fan of it. He, however, has done raw carnivore, so yeah, let's continue with his video.
It's in my heart, but we'll talk about it. I just want to talk a bit about what I'm experiencing now back on veganism compared to carnivore. Is it better, worse in some ways? A balance? Has it been achieved? Let us speak about this.
I love your colon, girl, it's my world. I won't ever make a sound.
So I'm still in the frickin' midst of a colitis flare-up, and it's a bit of a nightmare. It's 10.
So it's now, I believe from his previous video that the reason he went back to trying to be a vegan again is he had the flare-up. He also has a mesh, in there that could be causing endless inflammation. And I think it's a bad move for him to go back to the vegan diet, because he's reintroducing things that will cause more inflammation. But he insists that previously, when he was a vegan, he was able to clear that up. My problems with the vegan diet are that it's not a complete diet. You'll notice a common theme for people doing a clean vegan diet, not a standard American vegan diet with a lot of junk that's vegan in it. You'll notice it's a lot like fasting, and it's a lot like long-term fasting. You'll lose a lot of weight. You'll also lose a lot of lean mass. You will be hungry a lot. You will have anxiety. You will have all of the symptoms of starvation, the longer you remain on a clean vegan diet. Obviously, if you're eating a lot of standard American diet, you're getting a lot of plant-based seed oils and sugar and carbs, so you'll be able to be, you're not going to starve, so to speak, but you'll still have nutrient deficiencies that pop up if you're not supplementing on a vegan diet. And that's why I'm not a fan of the vegan diet. You have to supplement to do it right. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I'm saying any diet that is unnatural to the point where you have to supplement it and even people who supplement sometimes still run into these problems with their diet. But any diet that's like that and you're not, getting the nutrition that you need is not a healthy diet. It's an ethical diet, I believe, to this day, it's an ethical diet. It's not a diet that's supported by human history. Now, a lot of vegans are throwing epidemiology around, epidemiology and shit, and epidemiology. There's been 0 cultures throughout history that ate a strict vegan diet. Veganism, that's no plant or no animals at all. One could argue there's been vegetarians that, eat a little bit of dairy and stuff like that, and that's essentially a version of supplementation to a vegan diet. If you're not a strict vegan and every once in a while you partake, you're going to get some of those nutrients you will otherwise be lacking, and you'll be able to sustain the diet longer with dipping into the animal world. But because of the ethics of it, a lot of vegans don't do that, and they end up deteriorating, becoming malnourished, and not meeting all of their needs. I'm not a fan of supplements. I believe health comes from eating properly, eating a nutritious diet. Now, some argue the carnivore diet doesn't provide all of that, but I would argue there's evidence in history to support that you can survive, and we've been meant to, because plants aren't available everywhere that humans have lived. I believe that genetics also plays a role in this. What climate are your genetics, your ancestry? Where does it come from, and where do you fall in that spectrum? I myself am half Russian, which means I'm in the northern hemisphere where it's seasonal, and so I'm probably more in the meat and fat spectrum in terms of what I'm designed to eat than, say, somebody who has ancestry near the equator or in the jungle or in places where there is an abundance of plant life, but there's also an abundance of animal life. Anyone that's been in a survival situation or out in nature will tell you that the plants are not going to sustain you out there. And if you watch any of the survivalists that go out, if you're not catching fish, if you're not getting some game or some small game, you will eventually wither away, and it's happened time and time again. And you'll wither away pretty quickly because you're out there, you're very physically active. You're having to do these intense physical activities every day just to survive, cutting wood, working on your shelter, and this is what hunter-gatherers did. So I think if you're trying to figure out the best diet is what climate was your ancestry from, because that's going to affect your DNA profile and how your body interacts with food, and what would you do as a hunter-gatherer? And the closest you can get to that, the healthiest your diet will be. But you have to keep in mind, not everything revolves around diet. There are environmental factors. You could be eating something that's within your diet that has like a ton of glyphosate in it, for example, Roundup. And if you've been following the whole Monsanto bullshit that's been going on, it's in a lot of shit. It's even in the drinking water. So you still got environmental factors that no matter what you do to your diet, you're not going to fix everything. And I feel like Casey, who's vegetable police here, his name's public. I'm not doxing him or anything. But I think that he, he's putting all of his eggs in this nutrition basket without examining the food environment. I see him going to a lot of supermarkets, a lot of butchers. I know he looks for organic stuff, but it's hard to tell if it's really organic, with the amount of corruption that goes on in the food industry. So, not to mention the drinking water and just being the environment and the air in general. And I do know that Canada is soaked in glyphosate, because when I used to drive truck, I had some severe hive breakouts while I was out there. My allergies were out of control, and that hasn't happened since I left trucking and, became 100% pure keto, not even dirty keto anymore, to where I go and I buy organic meat and fat and primarily animal based. I have no allergy problems. Even through this allergy season, I have not stuffed up. I haven't broke out in hives like I used to. I can play with the cat and pet him and not, have to fucking go to get an injection of Benadryl. These are all things that I've been able to do with a carnivore and ketogenic diet. I still consider myself primarily ketogenic, as in if it's within the realm of the ketogenic diet, I can eat it. But there's so many foods that I don't eat on the ketogenic diet anymore. Like, I don't get salads all the time, but occasionally if I'm out and there's not a lot of shit on the menu that I trust, I'll take my chances with a salad and realize that could cause me a few issues. But it's not something I do every day anymore. Whereas when I first started out keto, I didn't resolve all of my issues. And I was eating salad almost every day with every meal, some of which were high in oxalates, like spinach. And then you throw into the fact that I drink lots of coffee. I tried quitting that for a while, didn't go well. These are things that I've troubleshot in and out of my diet. I bring it in, shit goes wrong, I take it out, and jumping in and out. And you can get to an area that's a hell of a lot healthier than you were, but you're not going to cure all your problems. You're not going to solve every issue you're having in that case. And I think that's one of the traps that he's falling into is he's just obsessed with nutrition being the fix-all of his problems, and I do believe he needs to get that mesh removed. I think he needs to really, dial in and stick with something for a while. And I don't think he ever went pure carnivore. He's going to joke about that if he ever watches this. But, he would do celery juice and various other things that could have an impact on his symptoms. And he wants to be vegan. He wanted to be vegan to begin with, but his health prevented him from doing it. That's what he does. He's probably one of the realest vegans I've ever watched. And, there's a lot of vegans that are just delusional. He's not. He's realistic. He's willing to step outside the box to fix his health. But if he had his option, he would be vegan most, if not all, the time. So that's why I'm very curious where this video is going.
10 a.m. and I've had 3 bowel movements already, and I ran to each of them. I sprinted like Hercules when he was chasing a tiger to get his sandwich back. That's what I've done today. So keep this in mind. Most of the symptoms that I'm going to be talking about...
Commercial.
When redesigning the Honda...
All right. I don't want to advertise on here. So, waiting for the commercial. Gotta love mid-rolls. I try and let the commercials play because he still probably gets enough of an income to give a shit. I myself didn't when I did that. So, let's skip that. All right, there we go.
Not vegan related. And the carnivore diet didn't cause my colitis. It was the dairy, 100%. It's not like my digestion was pretty...
So he can't, he's so messed up that he still has a reaction to dairy. And make no mistake, dairy is an allergen. And if you have leaky gut and dairy gets in there, you have an allergy to it, an allergic reaction, that's why. You still have serious leaky gut. Now, I haven't tried milk or any of that. I don't drink milk. I do heavy cream in my coffee, which is almost I think it is 100% pure fat. There's no carbs or lactose involved in heavy cream. So, you know, he troubleshot. He took the dairy out. He reintroduced the dairy. He was scared to reintroduce the dairy before, because he would have reactions to it. Well, clearly, he has not healed his gut to the point where he can tolerate dairy. And I don't, from evidence that I've seen both from myself and from others that I've followed on the carnivore diet, is you don't cure this intolerance to dairy because you don't really heal leaky gut. I don't know that there is a good method nutritionally to heal leaky gut. I think years and years of destroying our gut lining have led to this permeability that allows allergens into your blood, and that's when you start getting inflammation. It's when you start getting these allergic reactions. And I think, he needs to be careful with that, So, live stream with no chatters. This is kind of, I can just do my normal show. So, let's continue.
Pretty good leading up to the dairy experiment. So anybody who's going to be making response videos, welcoming me back to veganism, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. But if they're going to say that carnivore diet destroyed my digestion, we can't all agree with that, can we?
No, we absolutely cannot, And here's the thing. You reintroduce dairy, it fucked you. Take it back out. That's how you troubleshoot using the carnivore baseline. Oh, I really want some dairy. Well, okay. You go and you eat it, and then you're fucked up. Okay. Go back to baseline for a while. Let the fucked upness go away. And then you can't tolerate dairy. It's the same for me, for example, if I introduce a lot of leafy greens back into my diet, I notice a resurgence of depression symptoms. And, if I introduce grain in any form, oh my God, does it all go wrong? And I do believe that even having, gluten somehow, because you can contaminate. If you know anybody that with celiac disease, that food environments can be contaminated. So even though you're not eating grain, doesn't mean you're not getting any gluten. And I believe if you have leaky gut and gluten gets in there, you'll have a reaction. And I have reactions. My depression's probably the worst if I get exposed to a lot of grain. And one of the things that I've done is to be very careful when I eat out and not eat out very often, if at all. Occasionally. I think the last time I ate out was a week and a half ago. I had a burger. I took it off the bun. So that's polluted with grain. Nothing bad happened. So, I got on with my life. Dirty keto. But I try not to do that very often. I almost consider it a cheat day. And that's kind of the key. That's what you got to do.
Because it was fine. Did it deteriorate my kidneys and my arteries? Possibly, yes. But otherwise, we're good. So basically,
he released his blood work, and I don't know that he was carnivore enough. I think he had cheat days. I saw him eating some stuff with barbecue sauce on it, and he's not ketogenic in my opinion enough to have that be the cause of any of his blood work issues. As I recall, he was showing kidney... And here, let me address that, because I know that's going to be a question that a lot of people have. He had, I think, his kidney indicators weren't quite that good, which is an indicator that you're eating too much protein and not enough fat. Now, a lot of people think when you go carnivore, you get just fucking shove meat in your face. No, that's not what you do. You need a lot of fat. I eat a lot of fat. Like, every one of these, and I have a lot of these in my life, has probably 100 calories of pure fat in it from heavy cream. Then once a day, I'll have a steak, a ribeye, or some eggs. not fucking shoving 3 ribeyes in my face like Sean Baker and, you know, people like that. I'm pretty much eating the same amount of meat. I'm just not adding in the carbohydrates and vegetables as often, if at all. And I am eating some more nuts and seeds, and then I'm not reacting negatively to it. I've also quit alcohol, so I don't drink alcohol anymore. And that's been a very positive impact on my diet. As long as you're only doing 20 grams of carbs a day, that's, you know, you can eat badly as a keto, you can eat badly as a vegan, you can eat badly as a Mediterranean diet. It's all in the food quality and the nutritional profile that you're getting with that. And also, to a lesser degree, your genetic ability to tolerate those foods. So, you know, that's kind of...
Basically, I am improving. It's still just so painful and shockingly painful, but it's better.
It'll be interesting to see where he goes with this.
I'm seeing less blood.
Oh, my stream's fucking up here. Why is my stream fucking up? My stream just completely went to shit. That's not good. Alright. That's not making me happy. I'm confused as to why. Let me reload it. Sorry, I just noticed that my stream wasn't working properly. Alright. I'm seeing it. It's choppy and shit. What in the hell is going on? Alright. It's, for some reason, my internet is being, like, it's in the red. It's being slow. What am I doing? Let me close that. Maybe that's causing me problems. Oh, yeah, that might have been. Apparently having mines open during the stream is not recommended. Alright. It's getting better again. It's not quite as red. Alright. So, continuing.
Blood. There's still blood, but less. I did a juice fast for 9 days to kickstart this whole process off, and I'm telling you right now, for the full 9 days, I was pooing solids. Just like old meat. Old rotten meat. Beef hearts, please. They throw tofu at me. The carnivore diet seemed to assume that the meat is fully absorbed, and that's why there's hardly any waste. I think it's not true at all. I had tons coming out of me. I think it's just like so slow moving, and it's not fibrous, so it's not bulky. You don't feel it, but it's in there, and it's waiting for you.
Yeah, you get the little nuggets.
Take you out on a date, and it's just in there, and I kept releasing it for 9 days. But I gotta tell you, the shocking high amounts that I'm releasing now that I have fiber back in my life, it's a full-time job. There's so much, I can't believe it. Like on carnivore diet, it was maybe, if I'm lucky, it was like once a day, not much in there. I was like, okay, cool. But now, the multitudes.
It's kind of gross. Thanks for sharing.
There's so much coming out. It's like, I think back, like, did I even eat that much? It's multiplying in my gut, making babies, fiber babies. And they hurt. They hurt. I don't know what the life hack is. You gotta reduce the fiber, but it seems like if I have a lot of juice, that still makes me go. And it's like, what do you do? It's like just white rice? Maybe if I had just white rice and juice, we'd have no...
Another commercial. Alright, get rid of that. Right,
normal poos. It's too much.
Gotta love
There's too
mid-rolls.
much happening. Stop it. The main difference I'm feeling is the fatigue is on another level. I thought I was tired on the carnivore diet. I am so exhausted now beyond what I've ever experienced in the last 11 months. I can't believe how tired I can be at times, and cold. I'm just so cold. And
Cold is a bad sign. If you are cold, your metabolism is dropping. And that's... You see, it's hard to get enough calories unless you are doing a ketogenic style of veganism. You got to eat a whole lot of plants and fruits to get your caloric intake for your physical activity. And if you're not doing that, you're going to notice a metabolic drop. Because like I said before, you are essentially fasting if you are on a vegan diet. That's what you're doing. That's why people notice initial benefits when they leave the standard American diet. But then as time goes on, they'll lose the weight. It'll be great. You know, assuming they're eating a clean vegan diet and not on a standard American vegan diet. They'll notice a dramatic transformation. But then if they go too long, they start to emaciate. They start to lose muscle mass. They lose, you know, a lot of body fat. You'll see, you know, they get really skinny. And there's some really, really starved looking vegans out there. I've seen them. And long term, it wreaks havoc on their digestion, especially if it's a grain-based diet. And honestly, the only way you're going to get the calories as a vegan if you're not eating animal fats is either through vegetable oils, which are bad for you. 100% bad unless it's olive oil. Olive oil is about the only one, but I can tell you that's not what vegans are eating. They're eating all the processed food oils and their vegan shit. You know, and they're using vegetable oils on their salads to flavor them, because, you know, salad without dressing tastes like shit, and I'm willing to bet that most vegans don't eat just salads with no dressing on it. And those dressings usually involve, like, you know, seed oils and not necessarily olive oil. So they're not getting enough fat. You got to eat a lot of fat, and you got to get that protein in there. If you're not taking in enough protein, usable protein from animal sources, then you're going to use your own protein. You're going to essentially do what you do during a long fast, and that's start consuming your own muscles, your own tissues, to get your needed proteins in. There's no way around that. This is basic, you know, biology here. If you're cold, you're not eating enough, and you don't want to be cold, especially if you were obese and you're trying to lose weight and do all of that. Cold. If you're cold and you're hungry all the time, you're doing something wrong. So these are symptoms you should always look out for.
And tired and weak, like a little girl. And my workouts, it's weird. I'm matching my reps still as a weak fruit boy bitch, but I weigh less, so I have to be less strong. If I can do 15 Illuminati push-ups, handstand push-ups, weighing 10 less pounds, I'm weaker. But still, I match my reps and I'm super strong. I
Burning muscle.
really shouldn't be working out. I should be giving my body the full chance to heal and devote all its resources to my gut. But I'm just so tired of every time I build up muscle and then I lose it all in some freak accident. It's happened to me like 4 times. First was the rib injuries. I was working.
Although I gotta be fair, I haven't been hitting the gym for the past couple of weeks like I planned. So I'm kind of failing at the whole pounding the fuck master. You know, I'm not building muscle anymore. So I don't know. I might be losing strength a bit too, but you gotta use it or you lose it.
Out, I got strong, and then I got all these injuries, and then I had to stop, and I lost.
He's using it and still losing it. Another indicator.
All my muscle, and then I built up again on the high-fat vegan diet, and then I went.
Good news though is when you initially build muscle, it doesn't take a long time to rebuild it if you start going back to overeating. It's almost impossible to do as a vegan. You have to eat. Oh my God! If to feed in bulk on a vegan diet, I don't see that it's possible, really. You can probably eat enough to maybe maintain your gains, but I don't know that you're going to get a lot of gains on a clean vegan diet. because you just don't have the caloric intake for it, let alone the animal proteins. Plant proteins are harder for the body to process. They don't do the job. There are amino acids that are exclusive to animal protein. And if you're not getting them, and those amino acids are essential in a lot of ways, and if you're not getting them, your body's going to cannibalize itself to get them, which means it's going to eat up your gains.
Back to fruit boy bitch and lost most of it. And it's like, then I built up on the carnivore diet again. Then I did a 21-day water fast and it shrunk down. And so again, we're going to do this so many times.
And it's interesting that fasting and his vegan experiments have pretty much the same results in terms of loss of lean mass.
It's just, I build up, I'm not healthy enough to maintain this muscle health. But I push on. I just want to maintain some semblance of dignity. So, but something I've noticed, the pain in my body. I don't know if it's entirely because of the colitis, but usually if you have colitis, you get all this joint pain, like it's inflammation just spreads throughout your whole body. And I tell you, as soon as I went on these juices, shut your juice mouth, I started getting a bit of chest pain, and then that traveled to the shoulder in heart attack-like fashion. I was like, oh, I'm having a heart attack.
Well, you gotta understand, fructose, if you're getting a lot of fructose in your life, it's not good. You're not meant to eat fruit all fucking day. You're meant to eat it once a year, in season. You're not supposed to be going to fucking Walmart every day and eating fruit. It's just not even possible. Even if you lived in the jungle, you wouldn't be fucking doing that. There's a time of the year where it's ripe enough to eat, and that's when you fucking gorge yourself on it, and that's it. And then you'll gain some weight. You'll make some fat around your liver. You'll do all kinds of lipid problems that you could develop from that if you did it all year round. Fruit is supposed to be seasonal. It's only our logistics and food technologies and GMOing that has allowed you to eat fruit all year. And I'm really surprised, as intuitive as he's been about a lot of this nutrition, that he hasn't figured that out, that you're not supposed to eat fruit all year. It's not something that should be a fucking occurrence. You shouldn't be juicing it either. Trying to cram 100 pieces of fruit into a drink, essentially, and take all the fiber out of it in the process because he can't handle the fiber very well because of the colitis. So you're not supposed to eat fruit all year. Every once in a while, have a banana. Every once in a while, have an apple. Preferably when it's supposedly in season, and preferably when it's in season according to your genetic profile. Ask yourself, if you hail from a northern hemisphere and your DNA is structured accordingly, how often would you be eating fruit? And I'd say maybe once a year, if that. Same thing with veg. How often would you be eating veg? Would you be having big leafy green salads every day? No, you wouldn't. During the warmer months, you could have it more often, yeah. But you got to eat according to your ancestry, how people from your ancestry ate prior to agriculture. That is what you need to eat. And you need to eat it in that fashion. If it's not in season, don't eat it. If you can't go down to your local farm and get some of it, don't eat it. And you're going to only do that for a small period of time because it does go bad rather quickly. Unless it's GMO'd or has preservatives put in it. So, that's why I go a little nuts when I hear like lots of fruit consumption, as part of a diet, thinking that you're getting nutrition. No, you are getting some vitamins from that you otherwise might not get. But you can have a complete nutritional profile appropriate for your genetic makeup, your health, and I would state, given the fact that most people are unhealthy in our current food environment, that they would lean more in the carnivore spectrum than the vegan spectrum. I'm not saying don't ever eat vegetables. I'm saying eat them when you're supposed to be eating them. If you were a hunter-gatherer in your current environment, in your current climate, would you be eating that? Would it be available to you? That's what you need to ask yourself. Like berries are pretty much available towards the end of the summer here in New York. Like I can go out to the trail and have raspberries and blueberries or any other berries that are out there in nature. But you can't eat them all the time. There's times of the year you eat them, you'll get sick because they're not ripe yet. So when they're ripe and in season, that's when you're allowed to eat this stuff. So if you're going to have fruit, eat it when you would be able to eat it. Not to mention you wouldn't find bananas and tropical fruit at all up here. So that's something else to keep in mind. Not all of us grew up, not all of our ancestry is from a tropical region. And over time, epigenetics restructures our DNA to deal and cope with our environment, and that includes our food environment. So you can't just eat whatever the hell you want all the time. It's just not how we're designed. And if you eat too much of something that you're not supposed to be eating, you're going to have consequences.
Already. Just let me eat meat, you stupid ass. I feel this. It feels like my collarbone is broken. Like it's just so weird. Like it has nothing to do with workouts. It's some sort of lymphatic or toxic heavy metal. Like it's in my
glyphosate. And if you're eating in Canada and you're eating lots of plants, glyphosate's got it. I wish he would research glyphosate. He never talks about it at all. And you would think, as obsessed as he is about nutrition, that he would.
Blood and lymph. It's weird. And my elbow, just this left one, hurts like weird shit. Like picking up this phone. It's like, It's better today, actually. But it's been a nightmare. And weird things like my ankle. I've never had ankle pain. There's no reason to. I've never done.
You might be having some arthritic. Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune condition. And if you're exposing your immune system to these toxins, because I do strongly believe you have leaky gut, especially since you have a mesh in there, then you're going to react to glyphosate, you're going to react to gluten, you're going to react to all of these things that are in our food environment, pesticides, so on and so forth. And just the fact that you're not supposed to eat these things all the time, you're not designed to handle a large oxalate load from eating tons of spinach and leafy greens. You're not designed to handle all the lectins that you're taking in, which are plant toxins that if, in the small doses, you're fine. Your body can handle a lectin dose. But if you're got leaky gut and you're eating an overabundance of these things, you're going to notice symptoms, and you should not be ignoring joint pain. It is a definite indicator of an autoimmune response. And because you're going back on this vegan approach, I believe that you are having an autoimmune response, and that would be joint pain as a symptom. Now, am I 100% certain of that? No, I'm not an expert. I'm kind of just giving my opinion on these things that he's noticing and how they can relate to bringing vegetables and fruit in large quantities back into your life. Because if you're not eating meat and fat, you need a large quantity of plants to make up your diet. If you don't get enough, your metabolism drops. And also, given the problems with our agriculture and the Monsanto piss that's all over that, and you're consuming large quantities that you're not designed to eat this much plant matter. You can eat some, but you're not supposed to eat it exclusively, and you're not supposed to eat large quantities of it. Because then you're overloading yourself with oxalates, you're overloading yourself with goitrogens, you're overloading yourself with lectins. And the leaky gut hasn't gone away. Remember that. Remember I told you carnivore doesn't cure leaky gut. It just takes all the shit out of there that gets in there and aggravates you. And if you put something in there that's going to get into your bloodstream and you're allergic to it, you're going to have an autoimmune response. And you've brought back, especially in Canada, you're bringing back a lot of these toxins into your bloodstream through your leaky gut. So you're going to notice symptoms like this. It wouldn't surprise me if you started to have breakouts again soon. It wouldn't surprise me if you had any autoimmune reactions where you got stuffed up or you were having allergy responses. You're clearly got allergies to dairy. you probably have some gluten intolerances, and there's gluten. You eat out a lot, from what I can tell. Well, I don't know that you eat out a lot. You seem to be going to the store a lot. But you got to be careful about cross-contamination of gluten if you're allergic to it. But gluten does cause problems for just about everybody. I believe it's a strong indicator of some of my issues. And if you just got to be careful if you're trying to get these symptoms to go away. If you don't have these symptoms, you probably don't have nothing to worry about right now. You might not have leaky gut. But autoimmune symptoms are a good indicator of leaky gut. And if you have depression or anxiety or any of these other symptoms, these are also good indicators that you might have leaky gut. I'm going to talk about depression in another podcast, but for the most part, this podcast, I'm kind of going over, depression in terms of the nutritional aspects. There are other factors involved in depression.
Feels like I kicked a bus. Feels like I was late for a bus. I missed it, and then I kicked it out of anger. That's what it feels like. So just like all this mysterious pain, and it feels like flu-like symptoms. Like I almost have that sensitivity when you have a flu. I'm just a mess. A freaking hot mess. My skin is definitely worse. I'm getting all those forehead bumps back. All those forehead and nose bumps, they're all back. And my scalp is itchy again. That's breaking out. It's almost like psoriasis. And behind my ears, I get it. Like all this is coming back. That's a good sign though. It's detox. It's all detox.
No, it's not. It's you're getting more toxins, not less. You're not detoxing. But I think he's being sarcastic here.
Funny enough, on the digestive front, I'm not bloated or gassy. I'm not feeling much pain other than right before I release, just the colitis nightmares. It's just right there. But all this fiber, I'm eating all this fiber now. Like whole fruits, some potatoes, sweet potatoes, and I'm having a smoothie, a heavy metal detox smoothie with like wild blueberries and dates and some cilantro.
You're not detoxing. Glyphosate is in a lot of those fruits that you're talking about. You're getting more toxins, not less. Detoxing's kind of a vegan myth, I believe, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Sue me.
Cilantro in there, and it's like it's passing through me. I don't feel it. It's not like whenever I was on the carnivore diet and I tried like one bite of a plant, I'd be like, why? What's happening? It's like my gut microbiome has readjusted and we're doing all right, even though I bleed every day. It's a good blood. It's a healing blood. It just goes through my colon healing itself with its own blood. It's a good... I like it. For the most part, my mental clarity is actually increased. On the first day, on just juices, I was like, I'm clear as F right now. Like way clearer than even the carnivore diet. It's weird. And it comes and goes, but for the most part, my mind is clear, but my body is exhausted. It's like losing blood. The combination of losing blood and...
Also, you're probably expending more energy and digestion here, with the increase of the fiber intake. But ultimately, I think the biggest problem is you're reintroducing a lot of plant toxins in an overwhelming amount into your leaky gut situation, and it's going to, some symptoms are going to clear up. Don't get me wrong. You did take in dairy. It might take a while to get over your reaction to that. I don't know why you wouldn't go, because when you first went carnivore, and I watched back in the day when you did this, when you first went carnivore, I was like, okay, and you were just no symptoms at all. You weren't having any problems, and every time you deviated, you would notice things, and then you would blame the carnivore diet. You've self-experimented a little too much. You got to give yourself time on something before you can make a conclusion on it. You can't just do it for a few 3-4 weeks and be like, oh, well, that didn't work. You have to, give it time. If you reintroduce a food, which you've reintroduced a lot of foods. There's no way you're going to troubleshoot which plant food is screwing with you that's causing these rheumatoid symptoms. If you're having joint pains, that's causing a lack of energy, a clear reduction of energy. You need to up your calorie intake through fat, because you've told me 2 separate symptoms that indicate a drop in metabolism. You're cold and you have low physical energy, and your mind is very active. If you do a long fast, you'll experience those 3 symptoms. When I did my 7-day fast, I didn't get cold, but I did experience the reduction in physical energy, and I did experience an increase in mental alertness. I think you're just not eating enough calories. Are you doing 1 meal a day? You can't do that with a vegan diet, I don't think, because you won't take in enough calories, especially if you're working out. You're not going to get enough caloric intake to offset, your physical activity. And the longer you do that, your metabolism's going to drop. He hasn't mentioned being hungry. He doesn't mention how many meals a day he's eating, how often he's eating, but I do know he's into fasting and intermittent fasting. So 1 meal a day I don't think is going to cut it on a vegan diet, because a vegan diet in and of itself, you could eat a lot and still not get enough calories to offset your physical activity, especially if you are very physically active. So I think he's experiencing a drop in metabolism. So, and along with some autoimmune symptoms. So,
And not absorbing enough food, it's a nightmare. It's just part of the process. My intestines are so inflamed, so really it doesn't matter what I eat almost. It's going to be kind of irritating. It's just like there's pain in there no matter what. You could have the friendliest fruit, just papayas all day long, and it would still hurt a little bit. I might do a what I eat in a day video soon just to show you how I'm healing up this collide.
yeah, we need that. I'm very curious what you eat in a day, now that you're back to veganism.
But yeah, so far a lot of the old symptoms are coming back, and super depressed as well, just because I'm so tired. But I have days.
No, that is another symptom. Okay, so now you've got 3 symptoms. You have leaky gut, man. I mean, that 100%, because I can tell you when my depressions kick in, that's an indicator. And I know because I've experimented with it. I've brought foods back, depression comes back. I know it's grain. Without a doubt, grain is going to send me down a rabbit hole. I know it could even be gluten pollution of my food environment as well. So when I take those foods out, depression goes away. When I bring them back, it comes back. This is how you figure out. But if you bring a whole bunch of shit into your life at the same time, you can't narrow it down that way. You start with the carnivore diet, and you bring, okay, I want to, for example, for me, I want to eat my Veronica's Health Crunch, my nuts. I don't eat them every day. It's every once in a while I have some nuts, maybe once or twice a week. But I brought them back, and then I did just that, added to my diet for a while. I did the same with Halo Top, which is my junk food on this diet, my dessert. If I want a dessert, I go and get Halo Top. I try and pick the Halo Top ice creams that have, for those of you who don't know about Halo Top, they take a lot of the sugar out. They still leave some in, and they replace it with stevia or erythritol or one of the healthier sweeteners. So you take that out, you get the sweetener in, it's a dessert. It's not healthy. It's not clean. I eat that fairly often as a dessert. I get some vitamin C that way too, because I get the strawberry one, and I get some glyphosate in that process. But I reintroduced that for a while, and I waited to see, did my depressions come back? Did any of the other symptoms that I've been trying to avoid come back? My energy levels since I've been back to this have been spot on. I've not had any problems with my symptoms, with the foods I brought back. I brought back, obviously, coffee is part of this, and, I drink a lot of it, so I'm surprised I don't have any symptoms related to that. That could be an explanation on why I seem to have, pretty much good physical energy. I haven't had a lot of problems in that department. I'm sharp as a tack mentally right now, and have been for a while. No brain fog or any of that going on. You introduce one thing at a time and you give it time. And if symptoms return, then, you take it out and do the symptoms go away. And this is how you troubleshoot your diet. And as far as, I think he's reintroduced too many foods. He's pretty much gone from one extreme diet spectrum to the other. And you're going to change your symptoms, to be sure. I'm not saying that the carnivore diet is 100% perfect for everything, because I don't have colitis, I don't have those issues, but I do have leaky gut, and I can tell you, the symptoms that you've been calling out jump right out at me, because I've brought things back, had these symptoms return. I have not broke out in hives in a really long time. I have not had allergic problems in a really long time. So I know that I can be ketogenic and reintroduce some of these foods without bringing those issues back. My depression symptoms are almost non-existent right now. I do occasionally have things that make me sad, but they don't send me into that pit of despair that I used to go into. And I'm avoiding that the most, because those suck. That's probably my most feared symptoms. I would rather break out in hives or have some kind of discomfort more so than the depression. That's my biggest symptom that I use carnivore to treat. And it works for me. I'm not saying it works for everybody, because there's other factors involved. But for me, my depressions are almost certainly nutritionally based, to a large degree. And I'm able to, I guess, recover from my depressions a lot better than I used to, because of my nutritional profile. If I get sad now, like I said, it lasts an hour or two, in terms of, whereas before it would just be a downward spiral. So if you're experiencing depression as a symptom, in addition to joint pain, in addition to lack of physical energy, in addition to feeling cold, there's a large number of symptoms there, and they're all not, necessarily because of a certain food. You've just did this drastic change, which makes it virtually impossible to troubleshoot your diet. And I'm all for an elimination style approach. In fact, I would say that's the best approach to figuring out for you what works for your diet. For me, it's keto, with a heavy leaning onto the carnivore side of the spectrum, and avoiding plants for the most part, and only having them every once in a while. So that's a significant, you've named off 3 symptoms, and you need to go the other way. Thank you, Dave100, for the follow. So, yeah, I didn't even realize anybody was watching. I should probably pay attention to that, being that I'm live streaming. So thank you. I appreciate it. Let's finish up this video, and I think we're still at hour. I can probably do that other email.
Where I feel energy, it's just sometimes I just tank, and I'm cold, and I just need to lay down under the blanket.
I need to eat.
It's in the summertime, by the way. Summer here, and I'm freezing. I definitely felt better as a carnivore compared to how I feel right now, but the colitis flare-up is what's doing that, so we have to see till that dies down. We don't know for sure. And then we follow the medical medium Spirit Ghost, and he guides us. So I just wanted to make a little update video. I want to make more videos, but I'm just so tired, so bear with me. I'm trying to still maintain the 3 videos a week here, and then 2 on-camera conspiracies. It feels
Live stream.
like a
All right, so by all means, follow. I've been following him for a while because I want to. Thank you, Tokimo Gaming, for contributing. I appreciate it. Every little bit helps. And I do feel welcome here on DLive too. I feel like you all have been very friendly since I started, and I literally just started last night streaming here. And I plan to continue because I enjoy the platform so far, and I hope we can get more creators to come here too. You know, and get more. The more people we can bring here, I believe this will be a good platform going forward. Let's see here. But thanks. Anybody that's been watching have any questions for what I've talked about so far about the carnivore diet, about symptoms or anything like that? Or are you just here to hang out? Feel free to talk. Love this community. It's a great place for both viewers and creators. Well, yeah, I'm hoping it's a good positive. I had a good community on YouTube, and I have a good community that followed me over to mine so far. And I'm hoping that maybe I can bring some of that community here. The problem I run into is getting people to, you know, to be willing to come to a new platform, because they watch a lot of content. They watch like I do too. Like I can't divorce from YouTube yet because all the people I watch are still there. You know, if they go to other platforms, I will follow them there because I'm curious, and I have. There's other platforms that I'm interested in following. Casey needs a lot of help. I hope that he would wake up to some of the other, like the glyphosate thing with Casey. I think he needs to really start looking into some of these. You know, not everything that we buy just because it comes from the whole food section of the grocery store, and he's shopping in normal grocery stores too. He's shown videos of it. You don't know the agricultural contamination that happens in those situations, you know? I mean, and some of his symptoms could be to that, and without knowing that variable, you can't really label that it's the carnivore diet or the vegan diet's fault. You have to kind of you know, troubleshoot that way. Thank you for stopping by, Tokimo Gaming. I'll have to check out your channel later. If you're chatting with me and you're doing all this, I do try to go and check out your channels and follow you back, and you know, if you're streaming, I'll watch, and also throw maybe a little bit of lemons and ice creams and diamonds. For those of you who followed me or have come here from, you know, other platforms, you can contribute. You know, when you see people giving me lemons and stuff, or that maybe you're watching the replay of this on one of the other platforms, you can contribute crypto via these various things. Like they get the Ninja Guinea, which is 1,000 Limo or Lino. I'm still learning to say that properly and shit. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. So let me continue. The last thing I wanted to address is another email that I received, if I can find it, which of course I can't. There it is. Which was, okay, that was the Monsanto one. I didn't really want to get into that today. I can't find that email right now, but I do believe it was about linoleic acid, which is the fatty acid involved in seed oils, canola oil, you know, soybean oil, the seed oils. Basically what every processed food is cooked in. And the question was, is that the cause of obesity? And it cited a link to a video by a doctor presenting that hypothesis. My opinion on those vegetable oils is really quite simple. You're not supposed to eat them. They didn't exist in nature. And when you do eat them, and I've noticed this in myself, you do become inflamed. I've eaten dirty keto, gone to a restaurant, eaten keto, which almost certainly involves those seed oils. Sometimes they'll even put butter on the table that's really margarine. And you don't know for sure unless you ask, and even sometimes if you ask, they don't know. If you're eating out, you're likely getting these seed oils, and you'll notice you'll bloat, you'll notice inflammation, you'll notice a decrease in physical energy. These are all things that pop up anytime I eat something. Like, I'll occasionally have a cheat day where I'll have like potatoes or fries or something, which is probably as cheaty as I get nowadays. And when I do that, it shows, you know. Whereas if I eat mashed potatoes that weren't fried, I tolerate that just fine. You know, I had mashed potatoes at a wedding as a cheat day a long time ago. You know, and it's not so, I have a once every 3 weeks rule on cheat days, like, and a cheat meal essentially, and usually just a cheat item like a potato. I don't go crazy with grain anymore, because every time I've had a grain cheat day, it's been a disaster, set me back weeks. So that's kind of the thing to be, you know, conscious of when you experiment. But like I said, you know, it's not the cause of obesity. To me, the cause of obesity is just our processed food environment, and it's like a perfect storm, and we did all the wrong things, you know, where our ancestors were eating plenty of meat and fat, and majority of them were not obese. We went to completely the other way because of the Ansel Keys debacle and this whole low-fat, high-carb approach that the standard American diet took. And then that evolved into the high-fat, high-carb, but as long as the fats are vegetable oil, you're healthy approach, which has led to our obesity epidemic. You can't blame it all on just vegetable oil. It is the perfect storm of increased consumption of plant-based carbohydrates, a reduction in animal foods, which has been shown. There's plenty of data. They